Hey, my name is Rowan Smith and I want to welcome you to the Training for Trekking podcast. Now, this is the world's very first podcast which is entirely dedicated to helping you train, prepare and conquer your upcoming hike, trek or mountain adventure. So once a week, I'm going to be giving you quality and practical information on the subjects of physical preparation for trekking, dealing with altitude and nutrition on the trail, so you can know everything you need to be doing to have the best chance of a safe, enjoyable and successful adventure. So now you know what you're in for. Let's get into today's episode. Alright, hello guys. Today we are talking all about some common strength training mistakes which hikers will often make. Now, the reason I want to talk about this today is over the last month or so, I've received quite a few emails, quite a few comments, had quite a few conversations with different hikers who are telling me about their strength training. And in these conversations, I have heard a few common themes which are often coming up, which are potentially holding these people back in their training. And these things have been mentioned very, very innocently, just as part of the whole process. But as a, professional looking from the outside on this, I have noticed these mistakes may potentially be getting in the way of their long-term progress. So today I just want to talk through these particular things which have come up, which I have seen over the years many times, which hopefully will be able to help you out with your strength training and hopefully you identify these particular areas which may be potentially holding you back. Now, not to say any of these things are absolutely going to ruin your workouts, but if you're looking to improve your training, they might be an area you want to look at. Now, all of these subjects and all these tips I probably touched on in this podcast in different points before, but today I just want to list them all out because I think it is pretty relevant to go over in detail. Now, the first mistake I want to talk about is when we're mixing up our strength and our cardio workouts is doing our cardio work first. Now, typically I'll hear from hikers and they'll say, look, I'm doing all this training in the week. I'm doing loaded pack walking. I'm doing running. I'm doing intervals. And quite often they'll say, look, before I do my strength training, I'll go out and do an hour of running or an hour of intervals or 45 minutes of pack walking or whatever it may be. And then I'll go out and do my strength training, go to the gym, do my session, and then I'll be done. And this can work, but in all honesty, it's not super effective. Now, in your strength training, if you're doing stuff before that, which is genuinely fatiguing you, which means it's burning up your energy stores, meaning you're rolling into your strength sessions already tired and can't really put in the best effort, you are really shooting yourself in the foot. Now, when it comes to your strength work, you want to be relatively fresh. You want to be able to concentrate. You want to be able to exert a reasonable amount of force. And if you're fatigued and exhausted before you get in there and before you do the first repetition, you're not going to get the best results. I highly recommend doing your strength training when you're fresh. So if you can possibly go about it, trying to break up your strength and your cardio work. So doing a cardio session on a different day or doing it morning and evening. Or if you do have to combine both of them, doing your strength work and then your cardio after. It's a simple change around for many people's programs, but over the long term, it can make a pretty significant difference. The second thing I want to talk about is when we're doing exercises, but we're working the wrong muscles. Now, sometimes it can be really tough when we're doing our strength exercises to know exactly where we should be feeling it and what muscles should be working. Now, this is through no fault of your own because the information on this available is absolutely terrible. Now, information online is often very wrong. And you say, I'm working this, but doing this exercise and it's working all these muscles, which is just wrong. And I'll blatantly say there's so much misinformation out there. The same thing is when you're in the gym and you might look at a machine or you might look at a chart and it'll tell you these are the muscles that are working. And I've seen so many of those that are absolutely wrong. And the same thing is if you've heard from a personal trainer or heard from a coach in the gym who potentially may not be super experienced and just well-intentioned, and they're just saying the wrong thing as well. These three things I've seen over and over again. So it can be very tough to know exactly where you should be getting the best work out of each exercise. And it can be really tough to know. But essentially, there are two areas that generally you shouldn't be feeling your strength exercises in. And if you are feeling like you're getting a really good workout in these areas, more than likely you're probably doing it wrong. The first one is the lower back. Now, the lower back is obviously a trouble spot for many people. And when we're talking about strengthening up the lower back, generally 99% of the time, when we're talking about that, we're not talking about actually working the lower back. We're talking about strengthening up the supporting muscles of the lower back, which are above and below it. Now, 99% of the time, if you're doing a strength exercise and you feel like your lower back is getting a really good workout, if you feel like it's doing a lot of work and you feel like, hey man, this is like, yeah, it's really, really working, that's probably a sign that you're doing something wrong in your exercise. And a lot of people innocently will just train through this thinking that they're strengthening up their lower back. But I'll tell you right now, if you are feeling this and if you're feeling the majority of work in your lower back on any strength exercise, you're probably doing it wrong. So in this situation, I highly recommend you go talk to your local personal trainer, talk to someone at the gym, reach out to a professional, or just try to do a bit of research on your own to find out exactly where you should be feeling these particular exercises and how you can switch it up on your lower, away from your lower back. So if you are doing, for example, rows, which is a typical one, bent over rows, and you're just feeling it all in your lower back and nothing in your upper back, you probably want to be changing things up. Or the same thing with the deadlift. If you're feeling everything in your lower back and nothing in your legs, you're probably doing it wrong. So if you're feeling any exercise in your lower back, and I've been harping on about this for a little while now, but really, really have a think, get some advice, because that's probably a sign something's going wrong. When you're looking at the upper body, there's another thing that's pretty similar as well with the upper traps, or like the upper neck. So essentially the traps, they run from the top of your neck all the way down into your shoulders, and the big meaty things sticking out of the fronts of your shoulders. And then they also run quite low down your back as well. Now, for most strength exercises, we probably don't want to be working the upper traps, and they don't want to be getting a massive workout. Now, if they are, that probably means you're doing something wrong. Now, a typical example of this is I got an email from a guy the other day, and he was telling me about his workouts and all of this, and he was saying that he loved to do some bicep curls, and he was saying that, look, he feels a really, really good workout in his biceps and also in his traps. And I was like, in my head, I was like, well, you shouldn't be feeling that in the traps. That's just not what should be working. And obviously something's going wrong there. And the same thing goes for most of your exercises in your upper body. If you're doing rowing exercises or pull-up exercises or pressing exercises, and you're feeling it all in that upper bit of your neck, you're probably doing something wrong, and you need to seek some advice to get that sorted. Now, the only exercises that you probably should feel in the upper traps are if you're doing shrugs. For whatever reason, I probably wouldn't recommend it, but if you're doing shrugs, you should be feeling it there. If you're doing upright rows, you might feel a bit there. And if you're doing very, very heavy deadlifts, you might feel a little bit there as well. But any other situation, you probably need to seek out advice. So if you are doing exercises and you feel like the lower back or the upper traps are getting a really significant workout, seek out help, because you need a little bit of advice. The next mistake I often see is people rushing their repetitions. So when they're doing their squats, their lunges, their deadlifts, whatever it may be, it's just doing really, really, really quick repetitions. Now, this became really, really popularized in, CrossFit, a few years ago, and then the high intensity interval training these days, where people are just chasing muscle burn and they're just chasing their cardiovascular response and they're chasing speed. For us as hikers, it's not super, super relevant. You shouldn't be rushing through your reps. You shouldn't just be bouncing around. You should be taking most things nice and slow and controlled. Now, when I mean slow and controlled, for most exercises, you should be thinking about 3 or 4 seconds on the way down on the lowering portion and 1 second on the way up, and maybe a pause here and there. Now, anything quicker, if you're just doing 1 second up, 1 second down, you probably need to slow things down because you're really missing out. So don't rush your reps. Take it slow, and take it controlled, and it really will pay off over long term. Another thing that mistake I often see is people not resting enough, and they're just sort of going from exercise to exercise. Now, traditionally in strength training, if we want to get the best strength development, we want to be having about 2 minutes rest in between each set on the working muscles. Now, obviously sitting around for 2 minutes is a big waste of time, and it takes forever. And that's why I always talk about filling up those rest periods with things like core training and mobility work and balance work and all of that jazz. And that's something you probably should be looking at. But quite often people will just bounce around between exercises, and they'll have 30 seconds rest, 60 seconds rest. They'll feel fresh, but they're not getting the recovery their body needs, and they're compromising their strength development further down the line. So if you do find yourself in that situation, you probably need to rethink how to structure out your workouts. And if you do need help with that, like figuring out how to make the best use of your time, do reach out to me. Come into the private Facebook group, the Training for Hiking and Trekking Facebook group. I can show you a few videos to teach you how to figure this out. But it's a really, really significant change you should be doing. On the other side of things is people who, they're trying to take their long rest, but they end up just playing on their phone, messaging people, scrolling through Facebook, on the phone